Introducing Bank with Combank on Viber. For the first time in Sri Lanka, fulfill your banking needs with Combank on Viber. Open your Viber app and search for Combank Viber. Say hi and enjoy these amazing features. Account balance, account history, checkbook requests, opening of new accounts and many more. Bank with Combank on Viber from Commercial Bank.
ලංකාවේ ඉඟුරු හොඳම ඉඟුරු කියලා ටීචර් කිව්වා. අප්පච්චිගේ ඉඟුරුව ගාව දැන් සරුයි. ඒකට උදව් කළේ තවත් පවුලක් කියලා අප්පච්චි කියනවා. ඒ තමයි මැලිබන් පවුල. එහෙම ආපු අපේ ඉඟුරුත් දාලයි හැමෝම මාස මැලිබන් ඉඟුරු හදන්නේ.
දේශීය ගොවිකම් දිරිගන්වමින් අපට පුරුදු රහට හැදෙන මැලිබන් ඉඟුරු.
ඉඟුරුත් අපේ රසත් අපේ.
මල්ලි බොමුද කිරිතේ එකක්.
කඩපිලි වැඩපොලේ ගමේ රටේ කොයි කවුරුත් දැන් ඉල්ලන කිරිතේ එක පියෝඩෙල්.
තප්පර තියෙන් කිරිතේ එකක්.
Better world through education, research and innovation. It is on occasions like this we get opportunities to test our knowledge.
So I would like to welcome you all. So then I would like to welcome all the students representing here.
And we are conducting many fee-loving courses, specialty in them main programs, Calania MBA and Calania DBA.
Green financial policies in the country. So, to represent the government sector, we have invited key government officials.
As a student, I used to get involved with various kinds of events in terms of organizing the events. Also, I happen to be leading the Institute of Chartered Accountants National.
Unlike in other places, I have to wear long trousers from grade 1 itself, long sleeve shirt, tie is a must, and you need to wear
1972 Stockholm Summit, and there the leaders of the government promised to come up with national legislations with regard to the environment.
And off-grid solar systems as a means of replacing kerosene for lighting, right? So that's the time we started in 1988. Time the dollar might be 1,000 rupees, I don't know, right? You know, now it's 180.
Exchange control risk.
Right? So we need to manage that exchange risk because you need one thing, you need long-term financing. Short-term is not enough. Green financing ultimately is special renewable.
Register your CommBank credit and debit cards with CommBank Q Plus app. Scan and pay easy with CommBank Q Plus.
ආදරේ රහයි. මැලිබනුත් එහෙමයි.
ආදරේ දඟයි. එතරම් රහයි. මැලිබනුත් එහෙමයි.
ආදරේ සුවඳයි. මැලිබනුත් එහෙමයි.
වෙලාවකට ආදරේ සැරයි. මැලිබනුත් එහෙමයි.
හැබැයි ආදරේ සතුට බෙදයි. මැලිබනුත් එහෙමයි.
පිට පස්වෙනි වතාවටත් LMD සමීක්ෂණ වාර්තාව අනුව ශ්‍රී ලාංකිකයෝ කියන්නේ ආදරේ මැලිබන් බිස්කට් එකක් ලෙසද පැමිණිය හැකි බවයි.
එහෙම හොඳ. එහෙම කරමු. පොඩ්ඩක් ඉන්න. චිත්‍රා අපිට කිරිතේ තුනක් ගේන්න. මට සීනි නැතුව කිරිතේ එකක්.
පුදුම වෙන්න දෙයක් නෑ. දැන් පියෝඩේ sugar free තියෙනවා.
තත්පර 30කින් සාම්ප්‍රදායික කිරිතේ එකක නැවුම් බව. දැන් සුවිශේෂ sugar free පැකට්ටුවකින්.
දැන් පියෝඩේල් sugar free පැකට්ටුවකුත් එනවා.
පියෝඩේල්.
එලාම් එක නෙවෙයි මගේ විෂන් එක. වරදිනවා තමයි ඒත් පරදින්නේ නෑ.
මට චැලෙන්ජ් කරන්නේ මමමයි.
සීමාවෙන් එහා හිතන තරුණ ඔබට කමර්ෂල් බැංකුව ගෙනෙන වයිබ් account.
එහෙම හොඳ. එහෙම කරමු. පොඩ්ඩක් ඉන්න. චිත්‍රා අපිට කිරිතේ තුනක් ගේන්න. මට සීනි නැතුව කිරිතේ එකක්.
පුදුම වෙන්න දෙයක් නෑ. දැන් පියෝඩේ sugar free තියෙනවා.
තත්පර 30කින් සාම්ප්‍රදායික කිරිතේ එකක නැවුම් බව. දැන් සුවිශේෂ sugar free පැකට්ටුවකින්.
දැන් පියෝඩේල් sugar free පැකට්ටුවකුත් එනවා.
පියෝඩේල්.
Enwrapped in expression is a canvas of impressions, one that uplifts the spirit and lingers in the mind and the senses. A divine crust filled with flavor, more alluring than ever before. Introducing the all-new Maliban Real Temptation that hides irresistible sensations. So good. Maliban Real Temptation, truly irresistible.
University and as well as on Zoom for this remarkable event. In the year 2015, the first ever Finance Summit was held with the theme Corporate Governance and with the participation of more than 40 industry professionals. The second and third Finance Summits were held under the themes Corporate Sustainability and Guidance for Future Leaders in the years 2016 and 2017 respectively. We also witnessed the 4th Finance Summit, which was held under the theme Green Finance.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you are now about to witness the 5th Finance Summit on the theme Digital Optimization in Finance. To officially commence the event, please rise for the University Anthem.
දෙසකිතු ගොස උරුමය සුරකින සියත් සුවඳ විදු කිරණ බෙදාදෙන සරාසඳ කිවිදු ලකර උදාදින කැලණිය සරසවි මාතා කැලණිය සරසවි මාතා සයුරවි දැයට නුවන දෙන සත් සිළුමිනවි ඉසුරු සදාලන දැයේ ජීව උල්පතවන් නොසිඳෙන කැලණිය සරසවි මාතා කැලණිය සරසවි මාතා සිය දෙසකිතු ගොස උරුමය සුරකින සියත් සුවඳ විදු කිරණ බෙදාදෙන සරාසඳ කිවිදු ලකර උදාදින කැලණිය සරසවි මාතා කැලණිය සරසවි මාතා සිත සුවියක් පිවිතුරු නැනගුණ යුගයෙන් යුගයට ඇයට තිලිනතර කරු පිරිවර සහ මුළු ලොව සරසන කැලණිය සරසවි මාතා විදු අඹරේ බැබලේවා සිය දෙසකිතු ගොස උරුමය සුරකින සියත් සුවඳ විදු කිරණ බෙදාදෙන සරාසඳ කිවිදු ලකර උදාදින කැලණිය සරසවි මාතා විදු අඹරේ බැබලේවා
Thank you, everyone. This invitation goes to Dulaj Hasanka, the President of the Students Association of Financial Management, to welcome the gathering.
Hello, good evening to everyone. I would like to welcome you all to the event of Finance Summit 2021. First of all, I would like to welcome our chief guest, Dr. P.N.D. Fernando, the Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies. Secondly, I warmly welcome Dr. M.M. Shamil, Head of the Department, Commerce and Financial Management. And I warmly welcome Dr. Subona Barau, Associate Professor of Finance, Department of International Business, University of Dhaka, the keynote speaker of the event. We are eager to hear your great thoughts and experiences, sir. Also, I am pleased to welcome the moderator of the discussion, Professor Nalaka Vikramasinghe, Professor, Department of Commerce and Financial Management, and the panelist, Mr. Arun Alvis, Chief Executive Officer at CFA Sri Lanka, Mr. Nuwan Witanage, CFO, Softlogic Life Insurance PLC and Council Member of CA Sri Lanka, Mr. Nishan Fernando, Managing Director of BDO Consulting, Chairman of First Capital Holding PLC. Furthermore, I welcome all the professors, senior lecturers, and lecturers of the Department of Commerce and Financial Management, and our sponsors, and all the other invitees. Finally, I would like to welcome our dear colleagues who have joined the event via on-site and online platforms. Also, I wish to mention here that we are really admire your active participation. Once again, I welcome you all to the event and invite everyone to connect with us until the end of the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Dulaj. The Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies has come a long way with the strong guidance he provided.
Very good evening to all of you. Dr. Shamil, head of the Department of Commerce and Financial Management, and our keynote speaker today, Dr. Subona Baro, University of Dhaka, Bangladesh, and our panelist, Mr. Arun Alvis, Chief Executive Officer of CFA Sri Lanka. That Mr. Nishan Fernando, Managing Director, BDO Consulting, and Mr. Nuwan Witanage, CFO, Softlogic Life Insurance PLC, and all the staff members, and our moderator, Professor Nalaka Vikramasinghe, former head of the Department of Commerce and Financial Management, and dear students. Actually, it is a great pleasure to address you all in this evening in the Finance Summit, which is one of the flagship event of the Department of Commerce and Financial Management to uplift the skills and identifying the social responsibility of our undergraduates as well as the degree programs offered by our faculty. So we are going with this financial summit combined with some other activities to cater the industry and as a country for the development. So in management faculty, Kelaniya University, we are having 5 departments. So we are catering more than 3,000 students in all 4 years and maintaining with more than 13 undergraduate programs, top up with some postgraduate programs and DBA program, Doctor of Business Administration and PhD. At the same time, we are having a staff capacity, more than 134 permanent staff members. 50, they are qualified with PhD locally as well as internationally. And that is our strength. And specialty in Calania Management Faculty, we are having staff members, they are qualified in professional. At present, we are having more than 49 staff members, those who are qualified in various disciplines of professional educations. And with all these, so we wanted to convert, so whatever the inputs we are receiving from the advanced level after their school education, we are converting all the students into a comprehensive graduate with these resources. So in that endeavor, so the activities what we are doing as teaching or maybe research or maybe skill development, so within the classroom as well as the activities like this to expose or showcase the organizing talents of our student associations is one of the major events in each department. So first and foremost, I want to appreciate the endeavors taken by Department of Commerce and Financial Management and the Student Association. And at the same time, they have selected the timely topic, the changes or digital approach in financing. So we are thinking about society. So there may not be banks. So we cannot see any buildings in future. So maybe a smaller than this one. So we can have banks. That may be only a word. But the services what we are receiving now, that may be more sophisticated and more reach to each and everyone and each part of the country and each part of the world. So that is what we expect. At the same time, as a country, so what I personally feel, the financial literacy, what we are having, the literacy of Sri Lanka, we know that it is going more than 90%. But if we consider about the financial literacy, which is lower than that. So we, as a national university, it is our responsibility to uplift the current knowledge as well as this financial literacy of the Sri Lanka. So that is why through a degree program and as this type of events, so we are mainly concerning. And finally, congratulating all the members, especially the Student Association of the Department of Commerce and Financial Management and all the panelists, those who are joining today. Hope that we can see the changes, so what will happen in future about the banking and finance industry. So with the combination of this digital technology combining and the areas what we should develop our students. So that is one of the main concerns organizing this sort of discussions. So we wanted to know the changes and so what are the plans in your organizations, maybe in your professional institution or that maybe in your company. So if you can discuss those things with the, not the exact plan, but have some idea of the direction. So with our staff members and students, so then we can prepare all our students as well as we can change our syllabuses, including such things. So that is our expectation. And once again, congratulating all the parties, those who are developing this forum for the discussion. And I wish all the very best to the Finance Summit organized by Department of Commerce and Financial Management. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. This invitation goes to Dr. M.M. Shamil, Head of the Department of Commerce and Financial Management, to address the gathering.
A very good evening. to the chief guest, Dean of the Faculty, Dr. Narada Fernando, our keynote speaker, Dr. Subona, all the way from Bangladesh, Associate Professor of the University of Dhaka, our eminent panelist, Mr. Nuwan, Mr. Anura, and Mr. Nishan, who will be discussing the topic that we have chosen for this particular year. The Department of Commerce and Financial Management is celebrating its 45th year since its inception in 1976. We as a department has come a long way, and I as the head of the department has been part of and also witness of its progress in the last 15 years or so. Currently, DCFM is home to more than 900 undergrads studying in the areas of commerce, business technology, entrepreneurship, and financial management. The department is also home to more than 100 postgraduate students studying Master of Commerce and Master of Business Studies. 35 permanent teaching faculty currently serves the department. Out of them, 16 of them have qualified with PhDs from top-ranked universities, and already 8 are pursuing PhDs as well. So in near future, we'll be having more than 50% of PhDs in the faculty in the department as well. We are the largest department in terms of students and staff. Our research involving students have begun to emerge in various conferences and index publications. The department annually conducts 4 flagship events. The Finance Summit is one of them. Today, the Student Association of Financial Management will be launching their 7th edition of the Finance Today magazine, focusing on digital optimization in finance, and simultaneously conduct the 5th edition of its Finance Summit, moderated by our own Professor Nalaka Wickramasinghe. Historically, the Students Association of Financial Management brings about a dialogue on an emerging issue. Hats off to the team for being able to put together an eminent panel of experts to share their views and experiences on the merger between digitalization and finance. My 2 cents about this is, how are we going to address emerging fields like digital finance with industrial era or post-industrial era regulation is something to think of. I congratulate the Students Association of Financial Management and the team of lecturers for taking the challenge to continue with the Finance Summit and the launching the Finance Today magazine, despite the challenges posed by the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. This event wouldn't be possible if not for our partners. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank Maliban Biscuit Manufacturers Private Limited, Commercial Bank of Ceylon, and Pure Dell Private Limited.
Register your CommBank credit and debit cards with CommBank Q Plus app. Scan and pay easy with CommBank Q Plus.
මල්ලි බොමුද කිරිතේ එකක්.
කඩපිලි වැඩපොලේ ගමේ රටේ කොයි කවුරුත් දැන් ඉල්ලන කිරිතේ එක. පියෝඩෙල්.
තප්පර 30 කිරිතේ එකක්.
Introducing Bank with CommBank on Viber. For the first time in Sri Lanka, fulfill your banking needs with CommBank on Viber. Open your Viber app and search for CommBank Viber. Say hi and enjoy these amazing features. Account balance, account history, checkbook requests, opening of new accounts, and many more. Bank with CommBank on Viber from Commercial Bank.
ආදරේ රහයි. මැලිබනුත් එහෙමයි.
ආදරේ දඟයි. එතරම් රහයි. මැලිබනුත් එහෙමයි.
ආදරේ සුවඳයි. මැලිබනුත් එහෙමයි.
වෙලාවකට ආදරේ සැරයි. මැලිබනුත් එහෙමයි.
හැබැයි ආදරේ සතුට බෙදයි. මැලිබනුත් එහෙමයි.
පිට පස්වෙනි වතාවටත් LMD සමීක්ෂණ වාර්තාව අනුව ශ්‍රී ලාංකිකයෝ කියන්නේ ආදරේ මැලිබන් බිස්කට් එකක් ලෙසද පැමිණිය හැකි බවයි.
ෂා කිරිත එකක් තිබ්බනං
ඕනෑම තැනකදී ගමනේ බිමනේ විඩාව නිවාගන්න පියෝඩේල් කිරිතේ.
තප්පර තියෙන් කිරිත එක
පියෝඩේල්.
මාව හැරවන්න එලාම් එක නෙවෙයි මගේ විෂන් එක. වරදිනවා තමයි ඒත් පරදින්නේ නෑ.
මට චැලෙන්ජ් කරන්නේ මමමයි.
සීමාවෙන් එහා හිතන තරුණ ඔබට කමර්ෂල් බැංකුව ගෙනෙන වයිබ් account.
Enwrapped in expression is a canvas of impressions, one that uplifts the spirit and lingers in the mind and the senses. A divine crust filled with flavor, more alluring than ever before. Introducing the all-new Maliban Real Temptation that hides irresistible sensations. So good. Maliban Real Temptation, truly irresistible.
පොඩ්ඩකින්න චිත්‍රා අපට කිරිතේ තුනක් ගේන්න. මට සීනි නැතුව කිරිතේ එකක්.
පුදුම වෙන්න දෙයක් නෑ. දැන් පියෝඩේල් sugar free තියෙනවා.
තත්පර 30කින් සාම්ප්‍රදායික කිරිතේ එකක නැවුම් බව. දැන් සුවිශේෂ sugar free පැකට්ටුවකින්.
දැන් පියෝඩේල් sugar free පැකට්ටුවකුත් එනවා.
පියෝඩේල්.
Dr. Suborna Barua is an associate professor of finance at the Department of International Business, University of Dhaka. He also serves as a research fellow at the Bangladesh Institute of Capital Market. He obtained a Doctor of Philosophy degree in Finance and Economics from Federation University Australia and BBA and MBA degrees in Finance from the University of Dhaka, Bangladesh. Dr. Barua has also worked on several cross-border research projects with the World Bank, the UNDP, the DFID UK, and the University of Oxford. He has also served as a research and finance team leader in several government projects, including the Financial Institutions Division of Ministry of Finance, Bangladesh Competition Commission, and Bangladesh Investment Development Authority. In addition, Dr. Barua is a director of FinTech Solutions Limited, a fintech company. Dr. Barua's research portfolio covers two broad areas: fintech and sustainable finance. His current research area includes financial technology and data analytics, the interface between finance and environment and sustainable development, machine learning and artificial intelligence applications in finance and economics. So it is my pleasure to invite Dr. Suborna Barua, who has joined us on Zoom to deliver the keynote address.
Thank you very much. Am I audible to everyone? Can you all hear me? I'm not sure whether you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you, sir.
All good. Yeah, perfect. So thank you very much for this nice introduction about me. I've been working on fintech and sustainable finance for quite a while. let me first address our Honorable Dean of the Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies at the University of Kelaniya, Dr. Narada Fernando. And we have here Dr. M. Shamil, Head of the Department of Commerce and Financial Management. I had the opportunity to meet him before. And we have here panelists from industry, Mr. Aruna, Mr. Nishan, Mr. Nuwan, and also today's this event's moderator, Professor Nalaka Vikramasinghe. I definitely, first of all, express my gratitude for inviting me for speaking before this wonderful audience about fintech and digital optimization in finance. And I believe that this is a great opportunity for me as well to exchange my views with you. So before starting my official presentation, I'll be sharing a presentation in a moment, but before going into that, I think I should make it clear, we are the fintech discipline is such a new field of study that it has just started to flourish over the last 4 to 5 years. So it's very difficult to call someone an expert. So we are not still, I believe we have a lot to go to become a real expert in fintech, but we are working hard in different domains within the fintech space. So today I will more talk about the negative externalities of fintech. Actually, we all know about fintech, that the technological revolution that's happening across the world. And we are very much fascinated. Wherever you go to the US or you go to Europe or you go to India, for example, everyone is excited and fascinated about the progress that's happening. But what in today's presentation, what I would like to draw attention to is that we have to be really excited with caution, not really too much loosely. We should be too much attracted to the fintech revolutions that are happening. So we'll be going into that. So and before going to the presentation, I must also address the Students Association of the Department of Financial Management. Probably, if pardon me if I made a mistake in mentioning the actual name. The students who are present today, I'm very much happy to be able to speak before you. So if you have any questions after the session, definitely we can discuss. So if you allow me, let me share my presentation slides and then we go from there. I hope my slide is visible to everyone already currently, right? Is it visible to everyone? So, as I was saying, actually, everybody is so much excited and fascinated about fintech and the developments going on. And we talk a lot. We are running after courses, running after university teachings, research in fintech. Everybody is doing on their part. But probably there are certain things that we need to be really careful about. And really, we need to think from the very early stage of the revolution that we are seeing today. If we do not really take care of some of the aspects that I'm calling today them as negative externalities, probably the fintech's real benefits that we expect to see over time might not be realized in full-fledged. So that's what is my today's presentation. So I'm sorry if I disappoint you with, because everybody talks about fintech, its technologies, its applications. There'll be probably thousands of presentations available online, thousands of millions of videos probably you'll be finding on YouTube about what is fintech, fintechs, all the technologies and their applications. But today we are going to talk about, I'm going to share my views about that thing, some of the factors that probably people tend to overlook, people really don't talk about much. And I think today we have industry guests and panelists, and it could be a very interesting point of reference for going forward on fintech's adoption in the future in Sri Lanka and definitely across the world. So what we are thinking is in today's presentation, I'll be talking about the social and negative externalities of fintech. So by the term social and negative externality, I actually refer to negative externalities, not the positive ones, because we all know the positive ones. Okay, fintech fosters financial inclusion. It reduces, it improves efficiency, it improves effectiveness of the delivery of financial products and services, all this stuff. But negative externalities are often overlooked, and that's what actually I'd like to draw attention to today. So the social and negative externalities actually are real trouble, but they could be real trouble actually in the future. Very soon, if we do not really deal with them, if we do not really take care of them today. So this, we are talking in a perspective or in a context when globally technology is basically leading finance. And interestingly, you will now find another new word, flowing through the internet, which is called techfin instead of fintech. So fintech is already there, and techfin is also there. So by the term techfin, it means that the technology companies are also actually starting to offer financial services, for example, like Apple Pay. So the fintech is already there, techfin is already there. So in general, we can call the tech is basically eating the financial services industry. So in such an aggressive environment, we are really sitting in a kind of a bombshell of fintech at the moment. Everything is going so fast, so aggressive, that we probably are not thinking much really before putting a step ahead. So in January, let me start with an example, a case, an incident happened in January 2021, when there was a discussion about Robinhood. I think many of you might know about Robinhood. It's an American US-based online brokerage platform through which you can trade through the stock markets and equity markets, securities markets, and also to some extent to the crypto market. So it actually is, it does not have a real physical existence. It's just an online portal. So it's an online trading platform. So in fact, this online brokerage platform has become so much powerful in the US today that when it started discussing about purchasing or buying out GameStop stocks in January 2021, GameStop stocks became too much volatile. I think if you look at the internet, you can read more detail about the incident, but I'm not really detailing about the incident because that's not our main purpose. Our main purpose is to know what happened exactly that should catch up our attention. So what happened is that because of the massive popularity of the Robinhood application, there is a company called GameStop, which is listed in the New York Stock Exchange, and trading of GameStop in fact became too high that its stock prices nearly rises nearly 30 times than its real fair value. So in fact, there was a proposal that Robinhood was basically thinking to buy some of these stocks of GameStop as well. So, but what triggered this situation is that if you read about the incident going back to the newspapers published at that period of time, you'll see one of the main reasons was that in January 2021 was basically a COVID period. So during the COVID period, young people particularly, And investors, particularly the younger investors, actually were at home sitting idle. So they had plenty of time to spend and plenty of time, to spare. So in fact, most of these younger population lost their jobs or did not have a job at that time because of COVID. So so it was found that a large number of younger investors became too much addicted to stock market trading through Robinhood, because it is just giving you the simple facility of going to the website and trading it from there straight away. So there is no hassle of going through the physical, the brick and mortar brokerage houses. So it was so easy to do. And trades through the Robinhood is often commission free. That is one of the integral factor that actually drove the demand for Robinhood too high in the market. So the younger investors found that this is a totally commission free brokerage platform, and they can easily trade over the platform online. And they were so crazy. And in January 2021, these crazy investors drove GameStop's stock prices nearly 30 times of its fair value. So when, in fact, at one stage, the stock prices of GameStop started to decline, and then there was a lot of accusations, media reports, and a lot of discussions from the regulators, and which were actually followed by regulators stepping in also as well, that it was Robinhood that was primarily and significantly responsible for the abnormal pattern and trends of stock trading of GameStop, which at the end of the day left thousands of investors out of money just because they became crazy, invested heavily at very high price, unusually high price of GameStop. And when prices started to fall, all the investors again lost their money. So the point, this type of incidents advises us, suggests us a very important thing we should remember before adopting a fintech solutions like this. So let's see that Robinhood is an online commission-free brokerage platform, is a fantastic fintech solution facilitating investment this was Sri Lanka, or this was, let's say, Bangladesh market, for example. I know more about my local market here. The market is too much, it's a weak form, very weak form of efficiency exists in our market. And this if we had these kinds of easy commission-free brokerage facilities, I think there would have been tsunami of, investors, falling into streets, losing billions of currencies or money, and probably so far I can remember, after the GameStop incident, one of the investors probably died also, went for suicide because of losing money. So in fact, these all stories actually are telling us that yes, you have a fintech solution. Now, should you be straight away offering to the market because you have it, because there is a fantastic innovation? Not that all innovation are right? So for example, the nuclear bomb is probably one of the greatest innovations, but probably it's not the right innovation needed at the moment for us. We need more peace. So that kind of perspectives we need to actually evaluate. So that is what we are talking about more. So there are three particular reasons why I believe it's my research and my experience from consulting in the digital financial services portfolio. I find three major reasons actually why the rapid development in the fintech space is causing ethical and social risks. The first one is the very technology or the solutions, that are actually driving the solutions up. The very foundational technologies are originally not technologies for finance. They are originally developed for computer science or that kind of, hard science disciplines, for example, let's say deep learning, or for example, artificial intelligence. All these technologies are used to develop and manufacture robots. Not definitely they were developed for financial services in the first place. But now, when people discovered that, oh, okay, this could also be used successfully in the financial services domain, then we got crazy. Oh, okay, we need to bring it up because this is giving a lot of benefits, improvising processes, products, and services, and all this stuff. But the point I'm trying to make is that so there is a mismatch between the developers and users. The technology themselves originally are developed by computer scientists. When they develop them, they never have in their mind anything about it. They know practically very less about finance. I shouldn't say that they know nothing about finance, but probably they know very little about finance, and very little idea about finance they have when they are developing. And their main purpose, the main purpose of developing the technology is not really finance, rather really developing, let's say, technology products like, for example, as I said, robots or that kind of industrial machineries, that kind of things. The second reason why these technology, the rapid and aggressive adoption of technology is causing problem is that the technologies that are that are being adopted at the moment in the financial services domain, what I find is that many of them are still in a developing state. So in a developing state means, look, every technology has pros and cons. Every technology has benefits, but at the same time, they also have the other side of the coin. So there are also bads and there are also goods. There are also merits and there are also certain demerits, right? So every technology has pros and cons. So all the technologies that are currently being developed, for example, artificial intelligence, still this technology, we talk a lot about this technology, but this technology is still underdeveloped. It is still under the developing state. So not a mature technology that, okay, so now we are at a state that we know everything about AI. We know the limits of AI. So we know all the benefits and demerits of AI. So we know how to use it. But still AI is under developing state, and probably it will take 50 more years, 100 more years to get into a mature stage. So it's not only about AI, for example. There are other certain technologies that are still, the other technologies also. For example, if you talk about near field communication, this is also this is kind of a more mature technology, but still a lot of developments could be there. We are applying facial recognitions in financial services, but still facial recognitions are not really matured enough to be applied at a scale. So because the technologies are not at a matured stage, we still cannot really infer the real benefits and the ultimate challenges or demerits of the technology at this point of time. As a result, many of the technologies that are being applied are actually half developed, and these half developed technologies are probably create opportunities of mistreatment or kind of causing negative externalities to the people or to the cases where the technology is adopted or implemented. So in general, we can say that the half developed technologies probably are not really welfare driven. And finally, we find that the global pattern of technology integration by the financial institutions particularly, it seems that financial institutions, of course, well, they are for-profit organizations, so they would be more interested to earn a greater amount of profit by adopting technology, and that is why they are opting for technology. Otherwise, they would have been continuing with the manual processes. So because they are aggressively adopting technology, they are aggressively also trying to make profit. So you see, let's say if you consider the Sri Lankan market, if you allow all the financial institutions to compete with fintechs, for example, if one bank comes with a fintech solution that is giving them competitive edge, and certainly the other banks will follow. So there will basically be a technology war at one stage. Everyone will try to be as innovative as they can, more innovative than the others. Otherwise, at one stage, probably after 20 years from now, you'll see that if a bank fails to continue to innovate, it will simply go go away from the competition. It will just simply become irrelevant in the market. So because the profit is the prioritized, so often financial is to remain competitive in the market, but also to take a lead and take the leadership in the market share. Many financial institutions are adopting financial technology too much aggressively, and that too much aggressive approach, probably when they take this kind of approaches, they're often likely to undermine their negative impacts on the society and the communities. So the faster the aggressive adoption of technology by financial institutions, putting the profit in target as the first priority is undermining, as I said, the community and the social interests. So these three, I believe, interrelated. They are not really alienated, and they are definitely interrelated factors that are driving, that are probably creating a foundation for a bigger chaos that we could see in future with the rapid development of financial technology. So just to have a basic understanding about what kind of technologies are currently being utilized in the financial services industries across the world, I'm sure that almost all of you have heard about these technologies, like, for example, AI. I talked about it, and I'm not going to really detail about these technologies today because it's not that session. We are more into how, into the negative externalities of these technologies. So we have machine learning applied in, let's say, AI and machine learning are mostly applied in customer service, in the financial services, also in credit scoring modeling, and then in loan default classification, loan default probability calculation, all this stuff. And there are applications of IoT as well. There are applications of blockchain, of course, particularly for trade finance, and also in securities trading. Data analytics is probably, everyone knows actually, because this is the age of big data, so data analytics is always there. And for data analytics, you will need probably machine learning and AI tools as well. There is a very powerful technology that is being, a simple yet very powerful technology that is being used for payment systems like near-field communications. So, for example, the touchless pays, we pay whenever we go to a shopping mall and pay by our credit or debit cards. When you make the touchless payments, where your card, you just take it to nearby the POS machine, and your payment is instantly done. So that is called near field communication. And we also have application programming interfaces, APIs, which actually helps us, without which, in fact, you cannot really bridge between fintech solutions. So if you have a mobile application and if you have a website, if you want to ensure that your mobile application and your website work together, you need to have APIs installed on both the ends. So I'm not going to really detail about this, just I think it's useful to understand what kind of technologies we are currently seeing being more utilized in the financial space. So as I was saying repeatedly, that ethical and social implications of fintech is a great concern. It's going to be a grave concern, really. Not too many people are talking about it. I'm writing I'm basically, one of my research is on this part at the moment. So I hope to, write something on it in future. But not too many people really are writing about it at the moment, but things will come into point very soon, I'm sure. Let's say, for example, just to give you an idea about what kind of social discrimination, we'll see more examples later on. One of the statistics actually by Chen et al., who conducted a survey of over 270,000 adults from 28 countries, found that 21% of women use fintech products and services, and 20% only female executives use work in a fintech company. So you think that this actually tells us about the gender disparity in the fintech domain, which is kind of a discrimination. Probably somehow there is an active contribution of the fintech, knowledge and fintech field as a field. It also has a contribution to this discrimination. And one of the reasons why I'm saying so is that in Bangladesh, for example, I see that roughly 10 to 15% of a class in the computer science and engineering department are female, while rest of the 85% are males. So it says actually that the females are not really more into the technology things. They have fewer skills compared to the males. And so there is a discrimination. When fintech is coming forward, males are getting more preferred in getting jobs, in workplace everywhere. So gender gap, probably the technology gender gap is probably expanding. It's really not in a well state. So it's just to give you an example. This is an example that this kind of discriminations are created by probably the new kind of technologies we are seeing in the financial services industry. So what kind of ethical implications and social implications we are actually experiencing, which probably not too many people are talking about today. I have tried to summarize some of the ethical and social implications, but of course, this is not the end of the list. I'm sure that many of you present here today could be, would be able to add probably more to the list. But to give you an idea, just some of the implications I found based on case studies across the world. So let us have a look on each of them. How, in fact, the ethical implications first, we talk about how ethical implications are being created. The first one is basically data breach. So there is a fundamental question when we talk about fintech, because almost all of the fintech solutions and the technology that are currently being adopted in the financial services industry use data as the raw material. If you cannot feed enough data, technologies will not work. For example, you wish to apply ML or AI algorithms. If you do not have data, or big data to be very honest, or to be specific, your ML model will not really work well. It will simply lead to probably, in most cases, wrong results. So if you really want to use technology effectively, you need data. But the point is, in countries like, for example, even in the developed countries, but more in the developing countries like Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, who owns the data? So data question is a fundamental question. So there are certain things we need. For example, data collection, data curation, and data ownership, and then data usage. So on each of these four elements, who owns the right? Who owns the right to collect data? Who owns the right to cure data or store data? Who owns the right to use data? Who owns the right to who actually owns the data itself? So these are basically serious questions we need to answer. Otherwise, you see that your data, my data, are probably. I mean, Google knows me much better than my wife, because my everyday's activity is monitored each and every point of time. It's collecting data about me, about my activities. So it can tell much more about me compared to my wife. So that is how the data is being used by people, even without my consent. So one of the major concern is this kind of ethical concerns, that unlawful use of your data, and data breach, and data and identity theft. So technology-driven financial products, services, and processes definitely run a significant risk of data. So there have been a lot of incidents globally over the last 4 to 5 years, where millions of customers' data were lost, were breached, were leaked or were hijacked, were phished, or were spammed by stolen by hackers and the bad guys in the computer science domain. And those people actually hold the data and then look for ransom. So even I left Australia in 2019 from my PhD. When I was coming back in 2019, Commonwealth Bank of Australia actually suffered from a major data breach. And I don't know whether my data was compromised there. So you can find a lot of examples, cases where you see that banks are losing data to the hackers. So let's say I just mentioned two cases here, or for example, one of Dave, a digital banking aggregator. It lost personal information and passwords of their clients, about 7.5 million banking users. So it's a massive data leak. Capital One is another fintech company which basically suffered a severe data breach, where it actually lost 100 million American, 6 million Canadian citizens' data, including their financial information. So it's a very known phenomenon. You all know it. I'm not sure about the Sri Lankan banks, but in Bangladesh, for example, every day, so many, this kind of data threats are faced by our banks. Almost 95 to 98% of these incidents are left unreported. Even many of the banks do not report them to central banks because they fear that if this comes out, their reputation would be at stake. So the concern and the data insecurity and identity theft has become so serious in today's fintech revolution that we are seeing today, also because of the involvement of third-party fintech companies. So if I explain you to just in simple way, let's say the main purpose of financial institutions is to deliver financial products and services. So innovating technology, developing technology is not their cup of tea. It's not their job. So the technology is developed by technology companies, right? And then the financial institutions bring them into their company and adopts the technology. So because the fintech solutions, fintech adoption is aggressively happening across the world, we see that most of the financial institutions, almost all of them, very few of the financial institutions actually try to develop their own technology. So most of them look for companies, third-party companies, who can develop technologies for them and help them in adopting the advanced technologies. On many cases, the traditional financial institutions don't understand the technology at all. So those type of third-party companies are called fintech companies. So the because fintech companies are considered as a key partner by financial institutions across the globe for adopting the fintech solutions and bringing innovations into their business models. So these fintech companies are mostly across the world. There are thousands of fintech companies across the world, and most of them, more than 90% of them, are basically startups. So most of these companies, because they are startups, most of the companies actually lack enough credibility, credentials, and really because they are startups, they practically have no business history. They have no reputation score as well, right? So most 90% of them are startups. Fintech companies are generally, fintech companies are developed by combining tech talents and finance talents together. So young people like me, for example, I am the director of a FinTech Companies Limited. So it's a Bangladesh-based fintech company which actually helps financial institutions to adopt technology products and solutions. So what we did actually, I know finance, so I collected two technology guys who knows technology. So we just formed a technology fintech company. So that kind of things are happening across the world. Well, certainly we have some sort of reputation because we are teaching at public universities, but there are also things happening that people are just finishing their school from Harvard or from, let's say, any second grade university, and then making up a fintech company. So these fintech companies are actually, they lack credibility. And there are also a lot of examples that these kind of third-party companies have helped actively, intentionally, and also they have unintentionally facilitated data breach and data theft. So that's a serious concern happening. The second thing that that we should be aware of is hidden charges. As I said, referring to the previous example of, say, Robinhood, which is a completely commission-free online brokerage platform, which drove its popularity to the, boom. It's so popular platform. You Google online and you find more information about it. So many fintech companies and many fintech solutions that are currently being adopted into the financial services industry have actually explicitly, they show that they do it for you free of charge, but on many cases they actually charge you in a hidden approach, in a hidden way. So that's a big thing happening. Many people, there have been a lot of complaints that many people have lost money because of these kind of hidden charges. And this has been possible for two reasons. The first one is the guys who are developing that kind of fintech solutions are basically, smarter and more intelligent, like people like us who are traditional and always look for, And then the other one is, probably. The other one is basically that many of the free platforms you give, actually they have, because the users of fintech solutions are not basically technological, so they don't understand the technology itself. So there are hidden charges. And then we have also there are a lot of complaints that enabling finance, fintech solutions are actually facilitating financing or flowing of finances to controversial sectors, like, for example, going through the cryptocurrencies. So there are complaints that many fintech companies facilitating loans to gambling and pornography industries, so illegal online trading. And also there are also complaints that money laundering and criminal activities are encouraged through cryptocurrency exchanges, for example. So the cryptocurrencies actually, because cryptocurrencies allow the non-traceability of the money, so it has become a popular medium through which money are laundered from, particularly from developing countries more than the developed countries. There are also, as I said, actually, that lack of specialized knowledge in finance normally poses a challenge for all in accessing the right financial services. And now a lack of technology also is deepening the crisis. The mass who are basically users of the technology, they don't know the inside the technology. So people who are adopting them or developing them have a lot of chances to manipulate them. And as I said, actually frauds are there. So your data could be theft, ad theft, or your data could be fabricated. So there are a lot of fintech companies. For example, Revolt, an online banking service provider, was accused of, it's a US-based provider, accused of ad theft and fabricating data that actually use your data, to deceive the regulators and making illegal money. So there are a lot of examples here. I'll be sharing this presentation later on. So apart from the ethical implications, we also have certain social implications. For example, as I said, that fintech solutions are basically sometimes widening the discrimination, particularly algorithmic discrimination is happening, where the algorithms are biased in certain cases. And also there are data-driven discriminations because the algorithm work on the big data. So if you feed a wrong data, then actually your outcome would be wrong, would be misleading. So the social discriminations are fostered, are facilitated by the use of wrong data into the, let's say, into the ML or AI models. And gender discrimination is already there. And lastly, there is also, as I said, that not that everyone has the same level of access to technology, particularly in developing countries like Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. So we have, this is causing a lot of social discrimination within the within those kind of countries where, as I said, between women, for example, rich and poor, you see that a lot of accessibility disparity exists. So we talked a lot. I'm not taking much more time. I think I have crossed my time limit, so I'm going a bit faster. So we have a lot of challenges to address. So how can we do this? What we need to do is probably following a 3P model, where we say that we need to promote these aspects, as we have discussed today, more and more to create awareness. Also, we need to prevent negative externalities from affecting the users, and then to protect data systems and users from unforeseen circumstances. And I think there are 6 principles that could guide us to a much better fintech ecosystem and much better fintech, much more welfare-centric fintech adoption by financial institutions. First one is the principles of privacy, as we discussed today. Also the principles of security, and the principles of transparency and governance, and the principle of fairness and equity. So no technology solution, whenever a technology is developed, the primary, one of the mandatory criteria should be that it must ensure equity and fairness for all. And the principle of sustainability as well. Technology should not be really unsustainable, environmentally and socially. And finally, above all technologies, everything we are doing today for the society. So the welfare maximization should be the primary principle behind every technology we develop and we adopt. So I believe this kind of incidents we are seeing today could create massive chaos and significant problems and market imperfections in markets like Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, because we are in a developing state and weak financial system. So we need to be really aware of these, and to prevent all these kind of negative externalities, a strong and rigorous regulatory sandbox is a must. I think I have taken too long time. I'm very much sorry for taking more minutes, and minutes more allocated more than what is allocated for me. Thank you very much, everyone. If you have any questions or observations, I might share, I might discuss with you. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable thoughts. In 2015, the Students Association of Financial Management issued its first ever magazine, Finance Today. Along the years, we have launched the magazine under various themes such as corporate governance in 2015, corporate sustainability in 2016, transforming Sri Lanka into a financial hub in 2017, foreign direct investments in Sri Lanka in 2018, green finance in 2019, and COVID-19 financial sector in 2020. Today, with great enthusiasm, we are marking another milestone in this path by launching the 7th issue of the Finance Today magazine under the theme of digital optimization in finance. Now, I would like to invite Dr. P.N.D. Fernando, the Dean of the Faculty of Commerce and Financial Management, University of Caledonia, to officially launch the 7th issue of Finance Today magazine, and our Chief Editor, Udamini Pereira, to assist the Dean and to present the magazine. Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to invite Dr. M.M. Shamil, the head of the Department of Commerce and Financial Management, on stage to accept the Finance Today magazine. Thank you, sir. Professor Nalaka Vikramasinghe, this invitation is for you to come to the stage to accept the Finance Today magazine. Thank you, sir. Now I would like to invite Senior Lecturer Dr. Madhurika Nanayakkara on stage to accept the Finance Today magazine. Thank you, madam. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Nishan Fernando on stage to accept the Finance Today magazine. Thank you, Mr. Nishan Fernando. Mr. Aruna Alvis, this invitation is for you to come to the stage to accept the Finance Today magazine. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Nuwan Vitanage on stage to accept the Finance Today magazine. Thank you, Mr. Nuwan Vitanage. I would like to invite Dr. Erandi Abegunawardana on stage to accept the Finance Today magazine. Thank you, Dr. Erandi Abegunawardana. Ladies and gentlemen, the 7th issue of the Finance Today magazine is now officially launched.
Today, we have an incredible panel of speakers to discuss the impacts of enabling digitalization in the financial sector. Please welcome our panelists, Mr. Aruna Alvis, the Chief Executive Officer of CFA Sri Lanka, Mr. Nishan Fernando, the Managing Director of BDO Consulting, and Mr. Nuwan Vitanage, the Chief Financial Officer of SoftLogic Life Insurance PLC, and also Professor Nalaka Vikramasinghe, who will be moderating this discussion.
Right, as we all know, so we are living in a COVID-19 pandemic for last 2 years. So many things that changed dramatically, and we were unable to have social gatherings, or we were unable to have our normal business life. But luckily, we were in the middle of 4th industrial revolution driven by this technology. So we were talking about IoT, artificial intelligence, 3D printing. So we are talking about the facial recognition, big data. Then all these technologies were there to keep us running with this pandemic period. So now we are talking about the digital optimization in finance. So that is one of the key theme that we are discussing in the world. Why we need to use banks anymore? Can't we use banking without having banks? So that's the discussion point that we are having in this moment. So with this COVID pandemic, that accelerate that demand, and we are going to discuss about that. What do you mean by digital optimization? What is the status of Sri Lanka, and what are the avenues that we can go further, and what are the challenges that we are going to have? That's the agenda that we are going to have in this panel discussion. To discuss with that, so we have eminent members Mr. Aruna Alvis, Chief Executive Officer at CFA Sri Lanka. So he's a former CEO at Chartered Institute of Sri Lanka also. Mr. Nishan Fernando, Managing Director, BDO Consulting, and he's a chairman of First Capital Holding PLC. And we have Mr. Nuan Vithanage. He's a CFO, SoftLogic Life Insurance PLC, and he's also a council member of ICA Sri Lanka. So now with all this pandemic situation, and there are certain silver lines. So one of the key thing is Yohani. So during this pandemic, Yohani come up with a cover song to using YouTube as a social media become global. So that is the opportunity that we are having. So then first, when you are thinking about the digital optimization, there are so many jargons. People are talking about digital transformation, digitalization, and digital optimization. So we need to define clearly what do you mean by digital optimization before we going into finance sector. So according to your opinion, Mr. Aruna, so what do you mean by digital optimization?
Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank the Students Association of Commerce and Financial Management of University of Kelaniya inviting me to be part of this Finance Summit 2021. And secondly, I also would like to thank Dr. Subhana bringing the other side of the coin for the discussion today, I think, which is eye-opener. And of course, we will, in our panel, the discussion, the concepts are very useful. And we will look at the other side of the coin in our discussion. Yes. And in fact, the risk aspect is the middle of the coin that we need to discuss. So let me give my explanation to your question with regard to defining digital optimization, particularly in the finance. But in general terms, let me give the explanation with a quote, couple of quotes, I would say. From the first one is from John Chambers, who was the former CEO of Cisco, who said at least 40% of all businesses will die in the next 10 years if they do not figure out how to change their entire company to accommodate new technologies. The key word here is the new technology. Then I will move on to the second quote, which is from Timor Reilly. Timor Reilly is the founder chairman of Timor Reilly media company, and also who defined the Web 2 and also the open systems, who says that every industry and every organization will have to transform itself in the next few years. What is coming at us is bigger than the original internet. And you need to understand it, get on board with it, and figure out how to transform your business. So here few keywords are internet and transform your business. So with that, from a country perspective, let me also say that any country that within the next 10 years fails to adopt comprehensive evolving digital strategy encompassing its people, the government, the private public institutions, and policies would probably be considered a failed state. So I'm covering all the aspects here as far as a country is concerned. So now let me come to my explanation about the digital optimization and the digital transformation. I have a slide on that. So what we need to understand is when it's come to the digital optimization is the way you use a technology on an existing product or processes to enhance and provide either increase the revenue or speed up the process or service the better. So which is the digital optimization. When you do that digital optimization, why we do digital optimization? Because we want to bring efficiencies and better service. So long as you want to bring better service and improve efficiency, you can always look at the digital optimization on the existing. So if you look at it, if you want to serve your customers better and also improve the productivity, you will do the digital optimization using the available or new technologies. Now we have so many technologies such as the cloud computing, AI, 3D printing, blockchain technology, so and so forth, and you can see more and more technologies come. So very clearly to explain, you use the technology on the existing models to improve, to bring more efficiencies. But by having done that, you can't expect the business to go beyond that. So if you want to go beyond that, what you need is, the earlier as I mentioned, the word is what you need to look at is a transformation. So how you bring the business transformation is through the digital transformation. So what happens is business, when you do the business digital transformation, you will create new models, or you will create new products and services, so that you will have a content leap of either increasing your revenue substantially or having a better service. Now, let's say if you take a hospital, you apply new technologies and you increase the efficiencies, but at the same time, if you do the business transformation using a digital technology, say if you want to create a virtual hospital or virtual doctor, nurse, you will add more customers for you. As a result, you will increase the revenue drastically, and also you can have the better service. So you will see a difference between optimization and the transformation. So I think that is the basic understanding, and my other colleagues will probably bring more examples for you. Yeah, of course, I have given some examples maybe for reference. I think the students can look at those. Yes.
Yeah. So very interesting differentiation. So because just like coming like e-commerce and e-business, so digital optimization and transformation. Mr. Nishan, so what do you think about this concept, digital optimization? What is your view on that?
All right, thank you very much. First of all, let me thank the society and university for inviting me for this discussion, and also let me congratulate and appreciate the views brought in by Dr. Subona, on which I may have a couple of things to comment or add. Of course, for your question, I have no other option than agreeing with Aruna, because I was also referring the same slide before I came to this. So therefore, I am not going to discuss too much on the definitions. Basically, digital optimization is a game of survival. He mentioned that 40% of the business enterprises will vanish if you don't embrace technology. So if you want to prevent that, you need to go for digital optimization. Then the next step is digital transformation. That is to go to the next step, next level, and try to offer, probably the same result, the same consumer expectation, but in a different way. For example, how Uber has transformed the transportation system or taxis. Uber has virtually killed. In Sri Lanka, of course, we are yet to see the final killing, but internationally in some countries, many countries, it has happened. Netflix. It's a transformation of the movie industry. Airbnb, transformation of the hospitality industry. So those are few examples of digital transformation from digital optimization. If you don't optimize digitally, I think you won't survive. You will disappear in another 10 years.
Optimization becomes a survival tool.
It's a survival, sustainable tool. But you need to go beyond that. Yeah, if I answer that, if I just look at what Dr. Subona was saying, it's very, very valid points that he brought about he mentioned that the technology that was adopted originally developed not for financial applications, and it is something, okay, we have seen something good, okay, can we apply this into finance? And we have brought in. So, yes, but when you are doing that, particularly in a field like finance, you need to have the sufficient control. You can't just plug and play. So you have to be very, very careful in doing that, and you need to have sufficient controls to prevent the other side of the coin that he was trying to explain in his
financial data is very sensitive.
Exactly.
So we have to be very cautious when we are using digital technologies, when we are transferring data through technologies.
And also he was mentioning about data breach. I think we have been discussing this particular issue for a number of years, but still I am not too sure whether we have a strong legal framework for data protection.
Yes.
I think that is something in this part of the world what we need if we are to embrace this technology and go for digitalization.
Yeah, right. Thank you. So, Mr. Nuwan, so what do you think, and what is your thought about this digital optimization? Is that possible? So, what do you think about that?
So good topic. So I really like this topic, and first of all, I must appreciate effort taken by Student Association of Commerce and Management Department. And so normally Cal University is pretty much closer to my heart. So I'm fortunate to hear the thoughts from Dr. Subona. So it's very insightful. And coming back to your question, digital optimization, we start from Johanni. So so I don't know whether how many people would fan of COVID-19. I'm the fan of COVID-19, so I would say why. So and with COVID-19, a lot of businesses were struggling, and a lot of business models were challenged. So obviously, a lot of CEOs, a lot of MDs, a lot of chairmen turned around finance and asked what is happening. So their revenue, which was uncertain, so costs were certain, unluckily. So first person asked from management director or chairman, so what is happening to my company? So normally CFO is the person responsible. So while a lot of finance teams, finance professionals, so they were busy while managing their finance function. They didn't have much time to invest and give strategic input to their CEOs, their managing directors, their chairmen. So why I say COVID-19, I'm the fan of COVID-19. Because of COVID-19, a lot of finance professionals think about their role. They thought about their role. And they understood, okay, there's a big vacuum that they need to fill. And what digitalization brought is that, which provided like injection to shorten their day-to-day activity, because they don't have any other way than applying the digital avenue. Because earlier also they had it, they didn't want to do it because they are fear about their jobs. That's brutal truth. So, and because of digitalization, they were given more additional time to think about, and because of that, they have provided great insight to their management. So what has happened was that earlier finance professionals were tagged as value reporters. value reporters. So now, I see them as value creators. So they are well positioned to create value. So while applying digital technologies, so I will go and tell how we are going to apply. So which enhance their role. So which is why now if we write, if any smart finance professional, if they play it right, so they can be a most vital person in the company. So I always say any company making losses, 2 persons responsible. First person is CFO. Second person also CFO. So tell why. So that's how I look at digitization, because that enhances the role of finance professional. And a lot of things happen, like these 2 gentlemen explain how that play and what is the value that creates and everything. It's all about what is the perception I see about digital aspects. That's very important. So that brought because of the COVID pandemic. So that essence brought it. And other thing is that which enhance the role of finance professionals.
Yes.
That's how we look at finance.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. So that now, so we can understand there's a difference between optimization and transformation. So this COVID pandemic actually, so there's something, say, the famous saying is the crisis is mother of innovation. So if you have a crisis, then the leaders emerge and you need to come up with some kind of solution. Digital optimization is one solution, as we discussed. And so when you are thinking about Sri Lanka as a developing country, so we are having multi-dimensional problem right now. So apart from COVID-19. So when it comes to digital technology adaptation, so what is the status of current Sri Lanka? Not only financial industry, but across the business arena, it's a capital market or other business sector. How we are transforming ourselves to digital technologies? How you see that trend?
Yeah, Professor, I think before that, I just want to mention that there were 2 case examples close to our heart during the pandemic. If you would remember the banking and the retail industry. The banking industry during the COVID time, they really optimize their technologies to improve their systems and provide the service. A similar retail industry, supermarkets and all that, we were able to, order online and deliver. So those 2 examples are really good. And also, I think the nuanced perspective, I think when it comes to the digital optimization or transformation in any organization or in the country, the financial management is a key aspect of the whole thing. I think bigger chunk taken by the financial. So I think in that context, this discussion is very relevant, very timely and important. So answer to your questions, when is as a country looking at the digital transformation, there are some key attributes that one can look at it. The different countries look at the different attributes, different frameworks, etc. But I, of course, looked at it and picked up some of the key attributes that any country must look at it if you want to measure the progress of the digital transformation. The one aspect is the internet penetration, because you can see even during the COVID time, the more and more internet-based applications are evolved, and on the computer and also on the phone, mobile apps. So as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, I looked at it. We have the penetration is about 50.8 in January 2021, the penetration. Of course, in 2020, the penetration was about 35%. Within that COVID time, there was a huge jump because I think everyone was, even as individuals, also trying to digitally optimize all the resources that we have, all the devices. So with the organization, so with the public sector, every sector. So as a result, we can see a huge jump. But when it's come to the developed economies, the penetration is about 84%. So these are some of the yardstick that you can think how we are progressing it. The second one is digital confidence. Now, digital confidence is about how trust as an individual, as a citizen, how much you trust your current systems. Now, I think Dr. Subhana brought up a point which is very much related to digital confidence. So as far as Sri Lanka is considered, we have currently our view is which is very weak confidence in digital transaction and the trust. Trust is something that very important to execute or to adopt, to use the products. Whereas the developed countries, they have a very strong confidence in digital because they have developed the systems in such a way to create the trust, and also you ensure that the security and the privacy, which is the very important factor. So for a country, if you look at the SME digital adoption is very important because in developed countries, the economy is mainly built with the SMEs. So them adopting the digital is very essential to improve the productivity and bring the digital economy. As far as Sri Lanka is concerned, I think, Nishan, we have about 500,000 SMEs in Sri Lanka. So we have to look at it whether really our SMEs adopting the digital in their businesses. Then the labor productivity is another aspect. As I earlier said, if you want to increase the productivity or bring efficiencies and better services, you need to have digital transformation in your organization. If that happens, the employees' productivity will increase. So as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, it's still the low productivity. Developed countries, which is very high. Then the implication of the digital. Now, we have a good example for this. In Sri Lanka, it's go by the industry. Now, what happens is during the COVID time, retail industry and the banking industry went and adopted, hurriedly adopted. So sometimes it happens, depending on the industry. If the industry feels that you want to adopt and you have a technology to do it, you go and do it, but without having a holistic view. Whereas the developed countries, you have a holistic view, and there is someone guiding, there's authority guiding, so that as an industry, various industries thrive with the digital adoption. When it's come to the banking products coverage, emerging economies have 51.4, whereas the developed countries about 96 point based on the population. In Sri Lanka, I don't have the statistics. I looked at it. Now there are a number of banking products. You can look at it, and you, of course, sometimes we know what are the banking products now already digitalized. As an individual, how much digital that you are using it. So that's another attribute that one has to look at it. Then credit card users in Sri Lanka, currently we have about 1.8 million credit cards. Whereas the developed countries, it's about 52.2. So we are very much low in that sense. Of course, when it's come to debit card users, in Sri Lanka, we have 32.6, whereas in developed countries, it's about 85%. So it's little better, but I think it can be improved a lot. Yeah, and then digital startup activities. From these startup activities only, you can create lot of entrepreneurs and also bring the innovations. I think Dr. Subara also spoke about this aspect. So as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, we have about 225 entrepreneurs who have adopted the digital in the age between 25 and 30, whereas in developed countries, it's about 60% of them come on the top innovators in developed countries. Then the mobile connections, in Sri Lanka, we have about 30.4 million as a percentage, which is about 141.7 as in population. If you look at the developed country as in North America, it's about 106. But we can see, our population is about 22. So we have some people have two connections, right? Then also there is this other attribute. We look at it, something called digital life. So digital life is related to how you use the digital as a citizen, in your individual capacity, in your social work, and also for economic activities. Of course, we don't have in Sri Lanka, we don't use the digital life, because digital life is as an individual, how we use the digital, how to learn, how to communicate, how to interact, how to work, and how you spend your leisure time, how much digital you use. as an individual, as a organization or a country, you look at internet usage, openness, kind of the interconnections we have. There's so many aspects in that. So these are some of the indexes that as a country we should be using and looking at it, and someone should be monitoring it. And then other aspect is a digital economy. How much the digital contribute to your digital economy. In Sri Lanka, we have about 4.3 GDP, 7 GDP according to ICTA sources. In globally, the contribution from a digital aspect is 15.5 of global GDP. So these are some of the things, attributes that one has to look at it for a country to progress in digital transformation or adoption of the digital.
Yeah. Yes, so very interesting statistics and indexes. So it says so we are not there yet.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
Right. So when it comes to banking, so that is the service provider for every industry. So banking system should have adapted technologies to provide the services that required by people as well as industries. Now, 2020, Central Bank declared as a electronic transaction year, but because of the COVID pandemic, there was no much propaganda towards that, but they declared that one as a e-cash year. Now, from your perspective, what do you think about the digital adaptation in banking industry in Sri Lanka? Whether we are going right direction, what are the positive things that we can embrace?
Yeah, I think as Aruna mentioned, banking and retail are two industries that where COVID has forced them to adapt digital, and they have responded well. I think so. But however, I would say the banking industry is still in the digital at the beginning of the digital optimization phase. I don't think they have yet started or thought about digital transformation. And we are comparatively behind most of the developed countries as well as some of the even developing countries, upper middle level countries. But I think we have got into, in some way, to the right track. But in our banking industry, I see a major problem. That is, our players in the industry, the banks, are extremely small in size. For example, if you take, I took some examples from Malaysia to compare, because in pre-discussion you referred to some Malaysian banks. For example, if you take one of the larger Malaysian banks, Maybank, their total assets is 44 trillion in Sri Lanka rupee terms, and net interest income is 324 billion. Whereas if you take Bank of Ceylon and People's Bank, which are the two largest companies, even if the two are added together, their total net assets, total assets is only 5.3 trillion compared to 43 trillion of the largest one of the largest Malaysian banks. Even if you take one of the very smallest Malaysian banks, 2.5 trillion, that is CIMB, and if we take the three largest private banks in Sri Lanka, Commercial, Sampat and HNB, all three together have only 4.2 trillion total assets. And the two so-called development banks, who are not doing any development, of course, is having only 1 trillion total assets together. Now, with these tiny numbers, these banks can never go to the international market and negotiate any sizable facilities, for example. You can't go to international market and raise some equity with these tiny numbers. So, I mean, in Sri Lanka, I think we have 30 odd banks, small banks, and I think 40 plus finance companies. I think we need a very serious consolidation plan. These banks need to get together. Right? They need, probably they need to merge. Actually, once there was a merger plan of NDB and DFCC, but for various reasons that collapsed. Right? So because of this, now just imagine when it comes to a core banking system, for example, it is the same internationally developed core banking system, say, which costs X amount of dollars, has to be used by the main bank as well as the BOC and the commercial bank, HNB, all of them. Now the problem is these small banks cannot afford that. So that is a hindrance to go for digitalization because these are expensive. And also, the moment you begin a proposal, I think Dr. Subaru also mentioned about this, you are looking at profitability. You are looking at, okay, when you do this, what is going to be your ROI? That is the first question comes from the board. Because it's a huge investment. And Sri Lanka being one of the countries which has one of the highest spreads between interest expense and interest income, or the deposit rate and the lending rate, one of the highest. For example, I mean, you know, for your fixed deposits now you get about 5%, and the lending rate lowest is at about 10%. So the spread is 100%, right? Nowhere else you have this spread. It is, I mean, if you take Malaysia, for example, it's 1%, 2%. But why we have to have this high spread? Because the banks are small. Their overheads are high comparatively. So unless you merge, or another solution may be to share certain resources. Now, for example, about 10-15 years ago, we managed to share the check clearing system. Before that, each bank was having different systems with central bank to clear. So finally, they invested in one company. All the banks they had a stake, and now they are doing check clearing, and it's a shared resource. Similarly, very few years ago, 2-3 years ago, they have started sharing the ATMs, right? But I mean, in other countries, when I was visiting Singapore about 20 years ago, I mean, they were sharing all ATMs. But we are far behind in doing these things. So either you need to have a consolidation plan and make bigger banks if you want to go to the international market, if you want to embrace these high technologies. Otherwise, at least even if you don't go for all these high-end things, at least within the country, for you to be efficient, you need to have some of these shared activities. Unfortunately, we are talking about digitalization and digital transformation, and certain banks are still investing in brick and mortar in putting up their headquarters, right? So, but I think at the beginning, someone mentioned about, you mentioned getting the banking facilities without having a bank on a platform. So some of these decisions also, it is hard to understand. So in that sense, whether the industry is going in the right direction, there is a question mark. But in certain things, I think they have started embracing the technology, but there is a long way to go, I would say. And also just one comment on, not on banks, I think it was mentioned that digital confidence and the service efficiency. In spite of these penetration numbers and all that, we hear that in the last few months or so, students had to climb the trees in order to watch some of the educational programs on the mobiles and the TVs. So, and I am sure you all must have been experiencing how many times our Zoom meetings are getting interrupted and our connections are getting interrupted. The technology, I mean, now, for example, when you pay your telephone bills, you are paying a cess to Telecommunication Regulatory Commission. And that cess is meant for by their act in order to develop the rural communication, rural rollout. But it's not happening, right? And even these telecommunication companies can think of sharing towers to fix their antennas and dishes. Not happening.
Yeah. So we have small country, but so many competitors.
Exactly. Too many people. So that is where I think in the case of banking sector, probably central bank may have to intervene. The regulator will have to intervene. Telecommunication, the regulatory commission will have to intervene, and you may have to do it by force. Otherwise, things won't happen. Because we have to provide at the end of the day, digitalization, digital optimization is to provide at least the present service in a more efficient manner. In order to do that, you need to share these resources, right? So I think
so I'm taking the Johanni as example. We have so many local heroes, just like Sri Lankan banks. So when you think about Sri Lanka, they are heroes. But when it comes to global settings, so there are specs. So they can't even do anything. They can't even bring the basic, the back-end technologies because they are too small. So that's what we can think about Sri Lankan banking sector. Nuwan, what do you think about insurance and other financial intermediates? What is the status of there?
Very positive. So completely opposite side I see from banking. So I will say why. So I think COVID-19 or insurance, it's like personal touch. We had it. That's the experience we had it. Like they need to go and visit customers. So that's an essential thing. That's the Asian culture that we have. And one of the biggest barrier COVID brought is that we cannot visit anybody. So where our core business model disrupted. So and in fact, we had a 3 months we didn't have new business. So so not only our company, almost all the companies came up with digital avenues to meet customers. So still we cannot avoid 100% physical visits because that customer wants. However, they were able to reduce the visits. So that's one of the method that like a business model disruption they overcome. So and because that one thing is that to happen anything, they need to see the value of that. So unless I feel value of something, I don't try it. So I think same thing for that we discuss about banks. So I'm the customer of the banks. I experience, so when during the pandemic, they accepted digital documents. Once lockdown period is over, we were told that now there is no lockdown, you need to submit physical documents. It's all about how we perceive about something. So we need to feel the value of that. So regarding banks, we were discussing earlier. So and since the finance professionals here, if you analyze the ROE of the banks, I don't know who is the idiot to invest that. I'm telling you, the ROE is less than 12%. There's no point of investing in the bank. So if any rational shareholder definitely will ask, okay, how come I can improve my ROE? So otherwise, there's no point I'm putting the money. So my business model disrupted, whether we like or not. So we need to find a solution. Otherwise, we are killing ourselves. So just forget about the banks, coming with the subject. So how insurance sector responded. I think Before the pandemic also, they embrace this digital avenue. I will tell you a simple example. I think more than 5 companies, they have digital innovation teams, dedicated digital innovation teams. They embrace this AI, big data, and RPA some time back. So I can tell about my experience. We started one innovation 3 years back. We wanted to invent automated claim payment artificial intelligence model. We missed 3 years because we wanted to ensure customers submit claim. So automatically that engine reads and link with our whatever policy document and automatically approve and send it to the payment. So we struggle because that when we read the prescription of the doctors, their handwriting is all over the place. There's no way that machine can learn. We found a way other way around. We went to medicine and found a ailment and find with some database, and we were able to build that whole algorithm. We invested 3 years. Because of that investment, we were able to go live, and currently good 80% of our claims automatically settled. There is no physical single human intervention. That's a delight we can give to customer. There are 20% we cannot do because of various reasons. But if we can do 80%, so one thing is cost benefit is there definitely. More than that, it's a customer delight. Yeah. So that's a business model innovation that digitalization brought in. Same way, finance teams, RPA definitely we apply. So nowadays, bank reconciliations, humans are not doing. There's more point that humans are doing bank reconciliations. So same way, various functions, they were able to apply digital avenue not only for automate the day-to-day activities. They went beyond that. So we use data and data analytics we use to get some insight, business intelligence insight to give some business partnering support or management. That's the next level. So basically, if we categorize into 3 categories, one is that automation of repetitive activity is one thing. That's a basic digitalization function. Second thing is to get the better business intelligence by using the big data analytics. We used to create data lakes. By creating data lakes, we can do wonders. Yeah. We can identify data relationships very nicely. Yeah. So that's second part. Third part is by find the new ways to do the things. That's a business model innovation. So those are the 3 avenues that finance, not only finance, so I think most of the insurance company did it. And I think good part of the outcome yet to come, but they already implemented most of the things. One, I think in that sense, there is a big role that regulator has to play. So I will tell a simple example. There is no way that we can provide insurance cover cost effectively without digital. So it's 100 rupee insurance we cannot sell physically. So that's why we use telco companies to distribute that. Unfortunately, in Sri Lanka, there is no proper regulation, no facility to motivate that. It's all about protecting our citizens cost effectively. So I think regulators, I think not only insurance, but all the regulators is to understand what is the value that company is trying to bring to benefit of everyone. So I think definitely first move advantage is there, but somebody has to do. I think if biggest thing happened was like people realized the value of digitalization because of the pandemic. So they knew there are new avenues coming up. They can play very well and they can create value and enhance their career progression. So that's a whole aspects happen. So in the insurance, I think most of the businesses understood value of digitalization. So, and a lot of management push to understand that. So those persons understood the value of digitalization, I think they are the winners of pandemic. That's why I told I'm the fan of pandemic.
Yeah, so technologies are there, but there should be a leadership to embrace that and
Leadership and like we need to persuade people to understand the value of that.
Yes, that's good. Yes, so because we are running out of time, so we'll now think about when we talk about the Western countries, we are far behind. Even we are talking about these other Asian countries, the East Asia, Malaysia, Singapore, other countries, we are far behind. Now the situation is, if we are considering South Asia, so we are falling behind. So how we can accelerate the digital optimization, how we can move forward, what are the challenges that we are having, what are the barriers that we need to remove, major barriers. Now, Professor Dr. Barua mentioned about this dark side. So I personally accept the points there, but I think so before going into that level, so if you are thinking about those things, then we are creating some kind of a fear. So then we are not going there, we are creating an escape plan. Okay, if we go there, so there are so many things that ethical issues, social issues are there. Is that a case? So what are the challenges that we are having as a country? So when it comes to leadership, when it comes to political leadership, business leadership, why we can't transform ourselves? So it's that's a famous saying when it comes to digital transformation. It's about transformation of a caterpillar to butterfly. So you are a caterpillar, so you are moving slowly. Then you can bring in some technology, then you can move fast. But you can't become a caterpillar because you need to transform. So then if you think about the companies like Facebook, Uber, within 10 years time, so the Facebook is earning equal amount of US dollars, 84 billion US dollars equal to Sri Lankan economy. Now that's the globalization. If you are thinking about the at least the region, South Asian region as a market, so then we have that opportunity. But I think so Sri Lankan business industry as well as financial industry, so we are not going into that direction. So why is that? What are the challenges? How we can change that mindset and think about region?
I think one of the things is that if you are going for a digital optimization or transformation, either it's at the organization level or the country level, one of the things that you must define is that your digital aspirations. That is first. Second one is your digital goals. The third one is, as Dr. Subhana said, we had to look at the risk aspect. Those three must look at it at the very outset before you do optimization or the transformation. That is the concept that everyone must adopt. You can't, if you don't do that, you will have Robin Hood cases, similar cases which are coming out. You will see that. And I mean, we know how many cases, how many systems fail, IT systems fails, all because that you need to spend a little more time in defining your aspiration, digital aspirations, the goals, and then looking at the risk aspect. So that is one aspect. The other one is, as a country, if you want to move in the right direction, I think first of all, I think you must look at is, one is the important thing is the connectivity. You have to look at the connectivity, as Nishan mentioned. I mean, if the connectivity is not there, I mean, you have many options, the broadband options, and then the mobile communication, the internet-based connections. So all the connectivity must be there for you to run it. Second thing is, at the same time, the digital infrastructure. All these are part of the digital infrastructure. So I would say with the connectivity, you need to have a proper energy system. Now, recently, we had power cuts, right? During the power cuts, you don't have the power, but you have the data, right? Similarly, you sometimes you have the connectivity and you don't have the power, right? So for any country, any organization to prosper, you have to have a right energy system. For a country, I mean, we have so many things to look at it from a country's perspective. When it's come to the energy, you have the solar power, you have the wind. As a Sri Lanka, as a country, there are things that we can develop. Otherwise, renewable energy, those have to be in place. That is one. The second one is the human capital. Right now, whatever you do, I mean, you have quite a lot of technologies. You have the blockchain technology, you have the AI, augmented reality, 3D printing. You need to have talented people. If those skills are not there, I mean, you won't be able to implement. I think one of the key things, I think Dr. Subara also pointed out, that one of the reasons is that you need talented people who knows about the technology. Now, you can have digital aspirations and all that, but if you don't have a talented people to implement those projects, we will fail. So this is where the universities come into play. Identify the emerging technologies and try and have more and more, either it can be short-term courses or the degrees. Now, for example, now that we talk about the finance, I think the future technologies like the blockchain technology together with finance, you know, you have a strong IT faculty and the finance faculty. Together you can have a degree in blockchain. I mean, you can see, we talked about the security and privacy aspects. You can see there are degrees related to the cyber security, right? So we need more and more such things coming, but you know, it must happen concurrently, you know, even before you get the technology. I think, as Nishan mentioned, we cannot be very much behind. You know, so that is where I think that universities come into play, and then there are other many institutions who must try and also as individuals, we have to train ourselves to use the digital. Now, I know in India, they start the digital education when they were schooling. So by the time they are out, you know, they are in a position to even go and do the coding, right? Now in Sri Lanka, we don't have enough of people who can do the coding. Right, and our workforce, IT workforce, it's about 120,000. I mean, the government is planning, the ICTA is planning it to be reached to about 300,000. So how many IT degrees are we offering? How many people, how much of brain drain happening? How much of experienced IT people are leaving the country? So these are some of the aspects that we have to look at it to keep the country moving. And other one is the use of the internet. Now, even the SME sector, anyone, any company develop app, right? How many people are going to use the app? How many people are capable of downloading and using it? So use of internet has to be in our blood, you know, because you have mobile apps coming on the mobile, you have apps on the desktop. So one has to learn how to use it. So the penetration use of the internet has to be increased. Then integration of the digital technology, as I earlier mentioned, you know, use of, I think the good example of the insurance industry, the use of the technology, integration of the technology, especially I think Dr. Subana also spoke about the API. So we need more APIs to integrate or to bridge the gaps of various applications and the systems, both in the private sector as well as in the government sector. Because when it comes to the government sector, there are so many applications we can use it. Now, if you look at a country like Estonia, Estonia is 99% is digitalized as a country, which is the first digital country produced, paperless country, everything is computerized, right? As a citizen, you will be happy because, everything is digital. So we need to look at some of the examples like that and adopt here. So that is, another one is public services. As I mentioned, so many areas to look at it. Then access to quality data. I think we mentioned about the data analytics, use of data to make better decisions. So we need to have better tools. We need to equip our people with better tools. We need to train in organization. As I'm happy that you are using data analytics. Other company that I know that, that some of the telcos use data analytics and then thereby service the customers well. So data analytics is another area, and of course for everything we need the knowledge. So we need to train people. And other one is digital entrepreneurship. We have to look at it. We need more innovators. If the innovators are there, you will have better systems coming up, and then also you can strengthen the financial regulations to accommodate them. Some of the key aspects I think we should look at it as a country.
Yeah, Mr. Nishan, now, so it's so very valid points that we need to have a good infrastructure, human capital, and we need to have some entrepreneurs that who are embracing digital technologies. Now, what do you think about Sri Lankan situation? Now, if you think about India, so they have very less literacies, the IT literacy, but they are going aggressively to a digital transformation. So they are encouraging people to use credit cards, the debit cards, and all these things. Now, if you compare that situation to Sri Lanka, other than the point mentioned by Mr. Aruna, so are there any other challenges and barriers that preventing us to go to acceleration?
Yeah, I think from a macro point of view, we need to have a very strong policy framework, and that has to be implemented on a consistent basis, and it should be independent of the political system. Because when the leaders change every 5 years, I don't think these policy frameworks should change. And Sri Lanka is a country which has, of course, there may be a lot of natural resources, but when it comes to this type of this digitalization, IT infrastructure, various other things, probably the resources are limited. So optimize utilization of these resources rather than limiting it to few individual players. If you have given licenses to too many people, okay, let them share now the pot. Okay. Then we have to have a strong regulatory framework, and the regulators must work in harmony, and they must coordinate among themselves. For example, the banking regulator, insurance regulator, I don't know whether they are working in harmony. Okay, and sometimes regulator might say this is not our business. For example, let me take one example from insurance industry, implementation of IFRS 17. Okay, he has implemented because their international parent has done everything, and the international companies who are represented here, I think they have gone for it. What is the excuse of all the other local smaller insurance companies? We cannot bear the costs, right? That is because the point I mentioned earlier, they are too small. So one solution may be, okay, it may not be the business of the regulator, but regulator to invest in a system and give everybody share.
Yes.
So you might have to have a solution somewhere. Same thing with probably banking digitalization. Central bank might have to intervene. So the regulators need to be active, proactive, and they have to be strong, and they have to work in harmony. And I think we need to have a very solid program to promote entrepreneurship and innovation. I don't think we sometimes see on the TV and papers that, okay, somebody has innovated something, that's it. Thereafter, we don't see anything on that, right?
Very
so
correct.
we have to have a...
We are struggling to get the patent of what I mentioned 1 year. Still, I can't get the patent.
Yeah.
So I think those are the few things that I would like to add to what Aruna said. I think most of the things what Aruna said applies on a micro level to individual companies, but on a macro level, I think as a country we need to have these policy frameworks and strong regulation, and it has to be completely independent, and it has to move on. Who comes into the power.
Oh, yes. Mr. Nuwan, final thought on that, challenges and barriers?
This might be very bad idea I'm telling. I don't see any challenge. So I don't see any challenge. So we see challenges or opportunities in the way that we wanted to see. So yes, everything there is a challenge. But some extent we can reach. If we want to reach, we can reach. If we don't want, we will come up with 101 excuses. So I will give a simple example. Now we are talking about digitalization. If you want to do something to something from Ceylon electricity board, we need to go physically. You need to submit hard document. we need to call them. Okay. So if you want to get it something done from provincial council, we need to go physically. Still, we are talking about big data. Simply, we don't want to do it. As Mr. Fernando told, we don't have a national program to ensure things are done. So it doesn't matter how much we talk. They don't, as a person, those who are implementing, if they are not implementing, so nothing will happen. This what I told is simple, very basic examples. Still, we cannot pay online to provincial council. I went physically to pay rates. So I think, so simple thing we need to ensure that why that is not happening in public sector is that people fear about losing their jobs. That's very simple. So because of that, stakeholders suffering. So I think as a country, because that we have intelligent labor here. If you look at Facebook, Google, they are coming here and do the innovation here and taking the learnings from here, implement somewhere else. Because we have intelligent labor, we react very fast. So yes, we have challenges. We have cost challenges. We have being the tiny country, we have cost challenges. But we can reach and we can progress far. And the only thing we need to act and do. So, and other thing is that we need to ensure people persuade value of that. So I think I personally believe, normally I believe basics. So, and if we can persuade the people value of doing something, they will do anything. So irrespective of they are working in the public sector or private sector. Public sector also, if we can persuade them, taking like a pilot project, show them, if you do like this, this is what is the benefit you are getting personally. Public sector people are talking about, I am not getting enough salary. So if we ensure that people are getting benefit out of that, so definitely they will do. I don't see rational people, right? They will understand the intelligent people. So I think we need to bring that culture. If we can bring that culture in, so we can prosper and we can go far away. Right? Yes, we have challenges. I think that's a basic thing I'm looking now, because this country blessed with intelligent labor. So India is struggling, Pakistan is struggling, Bangladesh is struggling, Vietnam is struggling. So we cannot build intelligent labor fast. So, but we don't have that burden. Yes, we have challenges, but just capitalize what we have and move forward. So I'm from the of Sri Lanka. So that's how I feel.
So it's very inspiring. So with that, so we'll come to the conclusion of the panel discussion because of the time limitations. So when you think about the points that we discussed, so we differentiate the concept of digital optimization and digital transformation. It's a journey. So we need to start with the digital optimization and we need to think about digital transformation. And based on the discussion that we identified, Sri Lanka is far away from reaching to a acceptable level of digital optimization or digital transformation. So, but there are the barriers that we don't have proper infrastructure, and we need to improve our human capital, especially finance students who are following the degree programs need to think about embracing the digital technologies, and we need to improve the human capital. And especially we need to have a legal and policy framework. That is one of the necessary element in Sri Lanka as a country, right? So we are having that, and we need to have entrepreneurs and innovators, so who can take our country to the next level, at least to regional level. So otherwise, so if you don't do that one, if you don't embrace this change, so we are in a fourth industrial revolution. So there were so many revolutions. If we miss this bus, so then we are not going to have some kind of a escape plan. So because there is a digital divide, so that if there's a divide, so we can bridge that one. But if it become a chasm, then that's going to be unbridgeable. So we need to work hard as a country, as an industry, as a financial sector. So we need to embrace this one. So as Mr. Nuwan mentioned, so there are so many challenges, but one way or another, so we have to overcome this problem to establish ourselves as a country with some pride. Otherwise, so we are not going to go anywhere that we desire to go. That's the biggest challenge. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Aruna, Mr. Nishan, and Mr. Nuan for your participation. It's very interesting dialogue. So we can continue this one in future as well, how we can transform ourselves and country to the next level. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was indeed an It was indeed an insightful discussion. Thank you, Professor Nalaka Wickramasinghe and the panelists. Now is the time to appreciate our honorable panelists. First, let's take this moment to appreciate Dr. Suborna Barua by presenting this virtual token of appreciation.
Thank you very much. I accept that.
Now, I would like to cordially invite Dr. M.M.M. Shamil to hand over the tokens of appreciation to Professor Nalaka Wickramasinghe. I would like to invite Professor Nalaka Wickramasinghe on stage to accept the token of appreciation. Thank you, Professor Nalaka Wickramasinghe. Dr. Shamil, please remain on the stage. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Nishan Fernando to accept the token of appreciation from Dr. Shamil. Thank you, Mr. Nishan Fernando, and thank you, Dr. Shamil.
I cordially invite Dr. Madrika Nanayakara to hand over the tokens of appreciation to Mr. Aruna Alves. I also invite Mr. Aruna Alves on stage to accept the token of appreciation. Thank you, Dr. Madrika Nanayakara. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Erandi Abewardena to hand over the tokens of appreciation to Mr. Nuwan Withanage. Mr. Nuwan Withanage, please. Thank you, Dr. Erandi Abewardena and Mr. Nuwan Withanage. To propose the vote of thanks, we now invite Keshani Silva, Secretary of the Students Association of Financial Management.
Good evening, our most valued invited guests, lecturers, and my dear friends. I am much honored to be the one delivering the word of thanks on behalf of the association in this gathering. I would like to thank all of you for the priceless effort that you have provided to make this event success and worthy. First and foremost, I would like to thank our chief guest, Dr. P.N.D. Fernando, Dean of the Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, who despite his busy schedule, has found time to grace this occasion. We express our heartfelt thanks to Dr. M.M.M. Shamil, Head of the Department of Commerce and Financial Management, for all your support and guidance. A special thanks goes to our keynote speaker, Dr. Supona, the Associate Professor of Finance in the Department of International Business at University of Dhaka. You made our session more valuable and interesting. It is an honor to have you with us today. And also, on behalf of the association, I would like to thank Mr. Nishan Fernando, the Managing Director of BDO Consulting, Mr. Nuan Vitanage, the Chief Financial Officer at Soplogic Life Insurance PLC, and Mr. Aruna Alvis, the Chief Executive Officer at CFA Sri Lanka, for taking their precious time out and consenting to be the panelist. I extend a special thanks to Professor Nalaka Wickramasinghe, Professor of the Department of Commerce and Financial Management, for being the moderator of the Finance Summit 2021. Also, I would like to extend gratitude to Professor Padirabasa, Professor of the Department of Commerce and Financial Management, Dr. Madhurika Nanayakara, Coordinator of the Financial Management Degree Program, Ms. K.M. Patirana Panditaratna, Lecturer, Magazine Advisor of Finance Today 2021, Ms. N. A. Kanayaka, Lecturer, Senior Treasurer of the Student Association of Financial Management, Ms. R. M. S. S. Ratnayaka, Assistant Lecturer, the Magazine Review of Finance Today 2021, and other lecturers. I would like to extend a special thanks to Mr. Hashan Vimalasiri, Lecturer, Mr. Kalhara Gunatunga, Assistant Lecturer, Mr. Prasanna Lakmal, Assistant Lecturer, Mr. Dinuka Kanangara, Web Manager at University of Kelaniya, for their immense support. I would also like to thank our monetary partners, Commercial Bank of Ceylon PLC, Melbourne Biscuit Private Limited, and Pure Dairy Private Limited, and also Vinod Damanupala, our official photography partner. No program can be successful with a single person. I would like to extend a special thanks for the Executive Committee of the Student Association of Financial Management, the Organizing Committee of the Finance Summit 2021, the Editorial Committee of the 7th issue of Finance Today magazine, the Web Committee of the Association, and all the members of the association for their support. Thank you for making this event success and with your contribution. Finally, I once again thank everyone for making this summit a success. Thank you. Have a nice day.
The major winners will be financial institutions that embrace technology. Thank you everyone for gracing this occasion with your valuable presence and for your support. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to wind up today's proceedings. Please rise for the national anthem.